Hello everyone, welcome back to one of our fancy live streams here. Today we're going to be flying right over the border from Maine. Actually, I think we're up in New Hampshire, Vermont here. And we're going to be popping up to Montreal and Quebec. I don't know, I can't say it anymore normally now. Quebec. We're going to be flying in the P-51, at least for me. You're welcome to bring any aircraft you feel appropriate. The average cruise speed on this thing is right around, let's call it 300 knots-ish. It's pretty quick. One of the reasons I chose to operate this particular plane today is we have a pretty good chunk of distance to cover, and I figured we might as well absorb the countryside just a teeny tiny bit as we go, kind of a thing like that, which should make it pretty good. Now, I apologize in advance, but my landing on this thing is probably going to be atrocious. One of the things that makes this a little more difficult to land is the fact that some of the really handy features that we have over in DCS land, like the fact if you pull this all the way back, it blocks the tail wheel for you. We don't have that. So unfortunately, that means any form of crosswind in the universe. And I also do not have tow brakes. So without tow brakes, a tail dragger and over 1,000 horsepower is a bad combination. I would not recommend it in the real world. But hey, we're going to definitely make it work anyway. So for those of you joining us today, we are at Kilo Foxtrot Sierra Oscar. This is called Franklin County State Airport. We are, like I said, way up, right next to the Canadian-American border here. Back in the old days, of course, like I said, I'll talk about some of my fun experiences in Canada. I've been going to Canada many years. Oh, we almost died before I even got the trip started. I hate this thing sometimes. It's very difficult without tow brakes. I'll tell you a little bit about my adventures about flying around in Canada, not flying around in Canada, being around in Canada. And I'll talk about Montreal. We'll also talk about Quebec. Like I said, I've got to learn how to repronounce that thing, because in the aviation alphabet, the letter Q is Quebec, not Quebec. So it's just kind of one of those sort of funny things that just kind of happens that way. So anyway, like I said, we've got the P-51. This is a nice racing one. This is the one that Microsoft does. I think it's fantastic once you get in the air. On the ground, it's abysmal. You're going to have some trouble. Now notice I can kick this pedal all the way over, and if I hit the gas, we're just going to go in a straight line here. So the reason for that is what you have to do is if you hold down the minus key on your numpad there, do you see how it holds the right brake? So if you do not have toe brakes here and you really want to be able to take this turn, you can just kind of keep tapping the minus key, and it'll help kind of get you around here and get you all lined up with the runway. So it's just kind of one of those quick little tips there. And when you hit the brakes on this thing, the brakes are way better than they really should be. Pull your stick all the way back and then tap the brakes. Otherwise, you're going to eat it. And if I don't crash, I've had a nice day if I haven't crashed. In other news, like I was mentioning in the chat just a few minutes ago, I actually have a high-performance certification for the real world now. That was quite an experience. There's a lot of things that I thought I knew that I did not from the simulator, and like I said, I'll probably do a whole video on that a little later on, so you can see kind of what I mean. Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, let's go get ourselves nice and lined up with this runway. I'll look over down this particular side of things. Nice. Looks like we're joined by a jet. If you want to join us, we're on all players. We're on the East USA server. All right. So let's go ahead and get everything all set here and give everybody the wiggle waggle, make sure the RPM is set correctly. We get the mixture set correctly. Normally, like I said, if we wanted to lock the tail wheel, we just pull back about that far and it goes click and it locks into place. We're not going to get that. One thing that Flight Sim likes to do to us too, you might want to keep an eye out for this, is if you are flying this one, they like to set the rudder trim for you by default. That's a lot of rudder trim. So keep that in mind when you are experimenting with that. Either use it or don't use it, but be ready for it no matter what it does. All right, let's go. Go ahead and do one victory lap of this. I'm not going to use that much horsepower here because I've flown this plane enough to know this thing's already difficult to control. You definitely do not need to give it full power. Like I said, once the tail starts to lighten up a little bit, then you can start to bring on the coals, so to speak. But it requires a lot of foot to get this thing airborne. There we go. We're starting to get positive control. Now we can put the coals to it. And that's it. Airborne. How many above ground pools are you going to fly over? Matt, you have to clarify that particular statement. Not 100% sure what you mean by that particular one. I assume there will be a few, but again, I could be completely wrong. One thing, I don't know if you're referencing, but a comment I've made before is the fact, when the wife and I, we've started flying together, which has been super fun. She always comments that she cannot believe how many people have pools. It's just kind of one of those kind of silly things. But I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing on that one. All right, let's go ahead and back this thing up to a slightly more reasonable power setting here. Not that this thing has a reasonable power setting. It's excessive no matter what you do with it. There we go. Perfect. And now we're on our way. So we're basically going to pop over the border. It takes about, I don't know, another 15 seconds, and we're in Canada, kind of a thing like that. Oh, everyone in Quebec has one. Okay, okay. So we're going to keep an eye out for those pools when we get there. So it's going to be kind of one of those things. I just give this a couple taps of trim. Looks like there's tons of people flying over Canada today.
Automated weather observation 1400.
Looks like there's tons and tons and tons of folks who are flying up there in Canada. Maybe we'll bump into them when we get to Montreal. And of course, from there, we'll kind of come back and run the other way. All right, let's get this thing all nice and cruisy. I love how it's got the automatic radiators. The plane that I got my high performance cert has a manual cow flap in it, and it's one of those things you always see in the in video games or in simulators. Oh, you got to use the cooling handle or whatever. It's a little different in the real world. It's not to say that it's confusing or difficult. I almost like to call it one more thing. It's always kind of that sort of a problem. All right, let me get us all nice and trimmed out. We'll take a look at who's joining us today. A little bit to the right. Remember, always do elevator before you do pitch. The aircraft I was flying yesterday has an electric trim on it. I've never had that before in the real world. I've always had it in Sims, but when you get it in the real world, you're like, oh, it's like it's an eye-opening experience to say the least. All right, this is trimmed as I'm going to get the P-51. All right, welcome back, Simon. Welcome back, Toro. Welcome back, Ted. Welcome, Muggy Chicken. I think I'm not sure what an RK9 is, so that's definitely kind of new. Looking around here, I don't think I recognize anybody who's going to be intercepting us today, but that's perfectly fine. Like I said, it does not matter so much in that regard. All right, and come to the right here. So driving into Quebec. I live in New England in the United States, so this is not an uncommon summer destination. My first experience actually with bed and breakfast came going up to Quebec here. And it was not bed and breakfast. What do you call that? Airbnb. That's what I want to call it. And that was an interesting experience. I love the concept that you can get affordable hotel or affordable place to stay when you're going on vacation and everything like that. But like the first night we were there, for whatever reason, they were having a heat wave, which probably explains why everybody has a above ground pool there. And the heat wave was terrible. And nobody was prepared for it. They're not used to 100-degree weather in Montreal, kind of a thing like that. So unfortunately, that was incredibly uncomfortable. And then of course, that same evening, the toilet stopped working when I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So it's like, oh, so this is Airbnb, huh? Kind of one of those sort of things like that. And hopefully other people have had better experiences with it. But anyway, going into Quebec. Yeah, I'm right, Quebec. Going up to here, it's always kind of fun because what happens is you cross the border, which is quite an easy process getting into Canada, by the way. Getting back, not so easy anymore. It used to be you could basically walk. And then you enter into this beautiful countryside. And one of my favorite things when we enter the countryside here is they have wind warnings on the side of the road. And I wish I could show one of these to you. Maybe I can. Hang on. Let me go see if I can find one. I have to show this to you because the first time I saw that, I'm like, let's see if I can find one of these. They look really silly. Oh, wait, I found one. Hang on. Anybody who's been up to here has probably seen this before. Let me share this with you for just a second. It looks like this. And the first time I saw that, I'm like, what? And I was sure you're probably going to have the exact same reaction when you see that, when you first kind of cross up into this kind of a thing like that. Oh, thanks, JMD. JMD, for the P-51, I did a video on it a little while ago. The big thing with it, it's going to take off when it takes off. Typically, it's 120 to 130-ish. Seems to be when it finally wants to get up into the air. But like I said, it completely depends on, what the air density is, how much fuel you're carrying. Are you carrying all the fuel in the back? Are you carrying all the fuel inside? Stuff like that. But like I said, usually about 120, 130. When you feel the tail lift off, just put a little bit of back pressure on it and just control it with your feet. And as soon as it starts to lighten on you, it'll come right off the ground. Don't have to pull up anymore. Just kind of let it do its own thing there. Simon said it'll be 40 Celsius. Oh my gosh, Simon. I've always wanted to go to England, and I'm always reminded of the scene from Snatch where he's like, oh, well, we've got beaches. And then, of course, I'm not going to repeat because there's some foul language from Cousin Abby there who basically said, who wants to see them? I always visualize England as not being the hottest place, but 40 Celsius, that's more than enough. More than enough. It's actually been fantastic weather-wise so far in the summer. And that's, like I said. So anyway, so that's the sign. I thought that was the silliest thing. And you basically travel an hour and a half on these idyllic country roads. Actually, as a matter of fact, let me look at the window here. So this is the road I believe actually I'd be traveling on. It's just for those of you who've flown in the American Midwest, or if you've not flown, driven in the American Midwest, or you've been down south where it's flat, you just get nothing. It's the weirdest thing. You just kind of cruising along, nothing. You're kind of going, nothing. And then all of a sudden you start seeing all these, not Howard Johnson's. Oh, I'm going to forget what it is right here. A Tim Hortons. There we go. All of a sudden, you start seeing a bunch of Tim Hortons back to back. And of course, if you're in Canada, Tim Hortons is like the Dunkin' Donuts, kind of a thing like that. But you just see one, and then you go like another mile, 2 kilometers, by the way. Our car could switch between the two different metric systems there. And then there's another one. And of course, we stopped in, and me knowing nothing about it other than apparently the double is what you order. Double, je voudrais double, s'il vous plaît. Kind of a thing like that, because obviously, like I said, my French is atrocious, but at least I can order, French toast with sausage and croissants and say thank you, and l'addition s'il vous plaît, and all that other kind of stuff. But I will not starve if I have to go to a French-speaking country. That's the least to say. So anyway, so you go through all this, you start passing a bunch of Tim Hortons, and then it's like a switch. You click a switch, and all of a sudden, everywhere you look, there's construction. Like it goes from that, and there's nothing but orange signs, all these warning signs, and signs, and signs, and signs. And then I'll go ahead and lose a little bit of altitude here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that. That sensation is very uncomfortable. Oh, there it is right there. So all of a sudden, it's like, whack. Welcome to Montreal. And everywhere you look, there's houses, there's trees. There's like this gigantic river here. Lac Saint-Louis is basically the one we're going to pass over. And you cruise and you look off in the distance because like this coastline right here, like you always look in the movies where you have like the industrial districts, kind of a thing like that. You have like the industrial districts, all the warehouse kind of along the water. And all of a sudden, like, I don't know, it's like, welcome to Montreal as you come popping over here. Now, this lake here is not nearly as calm as what we see here. Every time I've been here, it looks like whitewater rapids. It's just something about, they must have had some rain upstream, kind of thing like that. But you complete your little journey there, and obviously you can't cross here because there's no bridge. You have to go up or you have to go south to get to the bridge. But if you come swinging up this way, just a little bit here, and again, you should see the size of the ships that can get in and out of here. It's absolutely amazing. Kind of come over this side. There we go. Looks pretty good. And then you get one of these bridges that kind of takes you in. You can kind of take the south side of things, or you can kind of take the north side of things, depending sort of on what kind of person you are, depending where you are obviously located. But like you can see already just how everything just starts super duper flat, and it's like they just clicked a switch. You went from countryside, kind of reminds me of Beijing, when it's nothing but countryside, and then it's like an ultra city that just sort of pops out at you. Swing this way, and there is the city proper. There's the Beltway. And we get some photogrammetry, which means we get reduced frame rates. Hopefully everybody appreciates that. But slow down. Right down here, by the way, there's a really, really neat kind of a cultural place. This is such a neat building, by the way, that granary. If you've been here. But the cool thing here is I think we'll be able to see. Yeah, here it is. There's like a little fair, and there's always something weird going on at this particular location. Every time I've ever been to Montreal, we always had something going on here. We'd always come by and kind of visit it and stuff like that. And then you've got like kind of like your own little private island with the biosphere sitting there in the middle. That's that guy right off at 12 o'clock. And I'm going to try real carefully not to stall. Oh, yeah. That would be crushing the chest just a little bit. Oh. Cool. So then, of course, you come downtown here, and like the downtown, it looks big. It's not that big. Like, it was kind of surprising. But one of the things I really think is cool about this city, other than the fact they have the best bagels in existence, is like if you just go to the north end, like where all the universities and stuff are, which is I'm just going to sneak up this way real quick. You have like this amazing mountain just chilling. And, it's just kind of waiting for you. And there's like, let me skid a little bit here. But there's this huge park right near where all the universities are. And you can just kind of pop up here. And there's like walking trails. And like, this is where they do all their protests. But you also have this super duper cool buildings up here that kind of just sort of park. By the way, if you want to land internationally, right there. All right, let's kind of come swing down this way. Sorry, I'm doing tour guide today. But this happens to be a city I really enjoy visiting. And then we make our way to the north a little bit here. I'll give myself a couple RPM. That's plenty. I think 50 inches is going to get us more than enough. But after you have fun in the city, like I say, you get some great bagels. They have a pretty good subway system, pretty good public transport. They also have poutine, which for those of you who have not encountered poutine before, it's amazing. It's basically you take French fries and cheese curds and like sausage and sort of melt it into a pile of, unbelievably high carb deliciousness to keep you warm during the nice cold winters. But of course, coming up this way, we have all the Olympic stuff that they had many, many moons ago. And this is pretty wild because they had to build basically a separate subway that comes up here. But you can kind of see where they held the Olympics. And this is such a weird looking building here. But you also have all the different little stadiums. You have all the different little parks down there. And it's all, getting a little old school. And then you have these really, really funky buildings right here. Like I said, it's just super duper cool. Ugh. Go ahead and pull the nose over to the right here. And we'll start making our way out of town. Perfect. So usually when we go up to, like I said, this is on our side of things, this is where we go. Normally when we do this, what we like to actually do is we spend some time in Montreal and then we go up to Quebec. I can't say it right anymore because I've said it on an airplane way too many times. We go up to Quebec, which is basically right up the river. It's pretty easy. And it's one of those things where you sit there going, well, this won't be too bad of a drive. And, you get in your car, you fill it up with petrol, which apparently is some kind of Canadian gasoline. Combustible. Actually, I think this would be the French term for it, but I never pronounce it correctly. So you fill your car up, and now you just start making your way up this way. And it's just like we saw on the other side, but the only difference here is it's almost like you're flying into Siberia kind of a thing. Because instead of having all those like beautiful fields where, it's warm enough to do it, as you start making your way up north, everything turns from field to pine tree. It's like a little switch you touch. Now here's a good lesson in how not to crash here. Yeah, there's probably lines between that, so I'm not going to risk that. I will go right over. Nice. All right, cool. So we always like to go up to, slow down a little bit. I see I've lost everybody. Down to 35 inches. I think, let's go down to 30. Let's actually do atmospheric pressure with the engine here. Nice. So what we do is we always go up to Quebec, which is incredible because it's like this really, 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 really old trading city, kind of like right on the water, sort of a thing like that. So when you journal, like I said, you stop by Tim Hortons, get your double, and then you just start making your way kind of in this general direction. And like I said, it's amazing. It goes from fields and like buildings to nothing. Like it's almost like for those of you who've flown or who've driven, I should say, kind of on the more American northeast coast, or northwest coast rather, where you just get like 50 miles of pine tree and all of a sudden like, something starts up, like you get these like little hamlets and things like that. And it was always like the most wild little thing. Go ahead and slow down a little bit. I have to reset my trim. There we go. A couple taps of up. So this thing's incredible because I've got myself 30 inches of mercury there. And what am I pushing? I'm pushing 250. I'm certainly glad this is not my daily driver. I don't think I'd tolerate this very well in American air traffic control systems. I'm sure the Europeans wouldn't appreciate me going too fast either. Fast head caught up. Let's see if everybody else did too. Yeah, I think everybody else caught up. All right, let's go. There we go. I think I almost got cut off. All right, let's get going. RPM a little bit more into the green there. It hasn't been in the green yet. There we go. Perfect. As I like to say on a motorboat, hit it. Sweet. So we go traveling up this particular direction. And on our journey, it's going to take us a little while to get there. Not like crazy long, 15 minutes, not even. I'll tell you a little bit about my adventure this week. And believe it or not, I've been working on real-world flying stuff, as you can probably imagine. One of the things I'm trying to do is accumulate, ratings, endorsements, all sorts of stuff like that. So on Friday, I got the little perk of checking out in a Cessna 182, which is a high-performance aircraft. And of course, I've been flying little stuff like, Archers and 172s and other things like that. So it's like, so this aircraft just has a little bit more horsepower, and it's a little bit heavier. It'll be perfectly fine. No, I was actually incredibly surprised. The aircraft is not a slightly heavier 172. People might think that, but one of the things that we did as an exercise is, we do some slow flight just to kind of get familiarized with the performance of the plane. That aircraft at 70 miles per hour, because it's an older version of the airplane, it's incredible. Like the stall alarm's bouncing and it sounds like a circus of like whistles and like air flowing through the aircraft. I mean, like the whole thing, like it's ready to like almost come apart on you. And it's, buffeting everywhere. But the weirdest part of all is even though you're doing like 20 miles an hour over the stall speed, your nose is at like 8.5, 9 degrees. When they designed that aircraft, they didn't put a lot of angle of incidence into the wings. And as a result, you have to pull the nose back a fantastic amount in order to make it go up. And it's one of those things coming from 172, like you land, you pull the nose up a little tiny bit and you're good to go. That thing, it's like 8, 9, 10 degrees is the flare angle. And most of you are like, that's not that big a deal. Try it. It's ridiculous. But the most crazy part of all in getting the high performance cert was the constant speed propeller, which I've been playing with that in video games for as long as I can think of, without like any mind at all about, it's not that big a deal. It isn't that big of a deal, except I've never played a flight simulator that gets the deceleration when you pull the throttle back right yet. When you sit there coming in for approach normally, like on a 172 or an Archer, pull the throttle back and you just glide right down to the ground, burp, burp, and you're good to go. This plane, if you pulled the throttle back before you got to the runway, you'd end up in the grass before the runway. As soon as you pull that throttle back, you go from 80 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour in 200 feet. It's incredible. how fast the aircraft just slows down to nothing directly underneath you. So like when you're doing your approach, you're coming in, you come over the throttle. Somebody was asking a little bit earlier about having a power. What happens if you use your power on an approach? Yeah, usually you do a power on approach. And right when you cross the threshold, it's just like an airliner. You slowly pull the throttle back like a couple feet so that your throttle's all the way back just over the threshold. And then the plane slows down a little bit. And then it feels like almost like you caught like a resting wire in an aircraft carrier. The plane is just done, and it immediately starts sinking. And then you pull back, forgetting that you need 7 or 8 degrees to get the nose up. And next thing you know, you do a 3-point instead of a 2-point landing. It's incredible. Like, you cannot believe how effective the constant speed propeller is at slowing your airplane down. Now, people who play X-Plane, I think they do a better job of simulating that incredible deceleration. But like even this aircraft, if I were to pull the throttle back to 0, see how it just kind of. No. That is not what that would do. As soon as you do that, I would have been slammed up against my seatbelt there and go, like that, for how powerful that deceleration is. And that, again, you're losing 20, 30 miles an hour in feet, in seconds. One of the things we did, and I highly encourage, if anybody wants a little bit of homework, we have an airport near us called Ellington Airport. It's a 7 Bravo 9er. It's a little tiny airport. It's about 1,800 feet. It's the shortest runway in all of Connecticut that's paved. I recommend you take your favorite low-winged airplane to land onto it, and then try landing your favorite high-winged airplane onto it, and it'll absolutely blow you away. And now in the 182, because it's got that constant speed prop, even though we're a big, heavy plane, we go over the threshold, cut the power, and we're down within the second center line. It's like, I can't describe how powerful of an effect it has on the airplane. It completely changes how much time you have to think about it. It totally changes how hard you have to pull back. I was, like I said, floored by this. So neatly enough, coming up next month, I'll be working on my complex certification. So that'll be kind of fun too, because we get to do a little bit of a retractable landing gear. Anyway, so we're cruising up the river here, making our way very, very slowly, carefully, quietly. Quebec is going to be Quebec. Right up there. You can't miss it, kind of a thing like that. I'm pretty sure I didn't overshoot it, but it's definitely something that I'm pretty famous for doing. Just sneak my way over this way just a tiny bit. I really don't need to, because we're going to be coming to a very, very large, basically an inland lake kind of a thing like that. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to hug the right side. Actually, this is the south side, I guess. It's not really the right side. It's all relative, right? But there's a will, it's relatives. And I'm just going to line myself up right here like this. And a little nose up trim shouldn't hurt anybody. Delightful. A little more. Couple taps. Of course, I'm at 1,000 feet here. One thing I need to do is switch fuel tanks. I feel the whole plane pulling to the right here. I love the fuel tanks on this thing. It's this little dial on the floor. I'm on my fuel slayage tank, aren't I? Can't look down. Yeah. We'll switch tanks. I love the fact you can make this go away. It doesn't do that in the real world. It'd be nice if it did. That way the stick's not blocking your line of view or anything like that. There we go. Cool. All right, 1,500 looks pretty good. I'll see how everybody's doing behind me. Fast Ted, you're killing it. Simon, killing it, man. We got an F-18 somewhere behind us, but I don't think they're one of ours. Oh, USAPR! Nice! I think this is a neat plane as far as handling goes. I like the one in DCS better because it's a little more sensitive, but this is still pretty good. One thing I do like about this one is in VR, it's much easier to see what you're doing. Like right now, I feel like I'm kind of like trapped in this little thing. But then you look at the wing and you realize the wing is very, very tiny and short. It's really, really not bad at all. But landing it, like I said, it's going to be atrocious. I shut damage off in advance, so when you make fun of me afterwards, I can at least say that I told you it was coming, therefore it's not funny. What I would like to do, though, one of the great ways to get the nose down, don't point straight. If we get underneath Jerry's AAA, they won't be able to hit us. Although when I think the P-51, I think a lot about the B-29s over Japan as well, especially if the Iwo Jima was taken. Oh, also, sorry, Simon, you're going to be hearing the GPWS going off a little bit there. So another thing we found out, too. Oh, Rick, don't even. This is a tough plane to land. Like, you really need... You know how many hours people got in tail draggers before they'd even dare to attempt something like this? It's a little outside my usual realm here. I like my tricycle landing gear, except, there's a couple tail draggers I don't mind so much. This one's pretty good, but it's... The T6 is like a vacation to land. And of course, then there's like the B-18 and the Boeing 247. Those things are easy to land, even though the tail draggers. This thing is, it's just too fast. And the trick that I recommend anybody who's flying this plane to try is go ahead and trim up. When you go to come into approach, you're going for about 110, 120 miles an hour. When you do that, if you trim the plane for hands off at 110, 120, it's a much easier plane to land. Oh, Rick's right. We can fly under bridges. We're not getting there. So going back to my adventures, when I was working on the high-performance cert, the other thing I learned was how much rudder changes. When you're under full power climbing and you're getting pushed back in your seat the first time you jam on that thing, when you go ahead and transition from climb to cruise, like, this is what the ball looks like. And you're like, what? I was doing everything right. And you take your feet, you adjust the rudder trim, it goes, and then the ball is nice and centered again. And then you're like, oh, I need to make a power change. And then the ball goes like this. And it's like, wow. Like, you cannot believe the torque difference and how much of an impact that has on the performance of the aircraft. Yeah, Rick's right. You have to get a special certification. I almost got my certification for tail dragger, but unfortunately, COVID that week. So I'm holding off until I'm going to be working on complex, and I'm going to be working on instrument next. I've already started doing a little bit of the instrument, which is fun. So go to Montreal. USAPR. Yes, I completely agree with that USAPR. If you're going to go to Montreal, please spend a day in Quebec. Like, Quebec is, like, when we get there, I'll show you some of the things. But it's a beautiful city. It's an old city. The food is fantastic. The views are great if you're kind of a naturalist sort of a thing. There's a lot of really good stuff. And it's not a long drive. It's 2 hours. It's going to take us 15 minutes because I'm traveling 310 miles an hour. But by car, like I said, it's only 2 hours. And it's a straight shot. Like, there's no, like, oh, you have to turn right here and you have to deal with traffic here. You're not trying to get into Cape Cod or anything during the summer. For those of you who don't live around here, Cape Cod is this nice little island. It's like a boot-shaped thing coming off of Massachusetts to the north of us. It's, it's a straight up, basically an archipelago. But it's a peninsula, rather. And it's extremely, extremely difficult to get in and out of because, it's got one road going up its entire ridiculously long length. And let's see here. Rick Howell says, well, given that I went from flying a 172 to a Gulfstream 4. Yeah, Gulfstreams, that's different, Rick. Like I say, it's different. It's different. And also automation. Both the planes I fly on a weekly basis now, both have autopilots. Neither one of those autopilots is nearly as good as what you get in the flight sim. And not in the sense that it can't hold you at like the right altitude or attitude or anything. It's just slow. Like really, really, really slow. Like, you push a button in flight sim and it's like, good, gotta go, kind of a thing like that. It's nothing like that in the real plane. Wired virtually. Are you referring to the approach autopilot hold? Because I'll gladly do that. Like that's an easy thing to do. But are you referring to the approach hold, or are you referring to something specific about that particular auto land? Because I think it's an ILS Category 3A. Category 3C is basically all the way down to the ground with an approach autopilot. I guess that's fine. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is I'm just going to transition a little to the right. I'm basically, in case you're wondering how I'm navigating, I've just been following this river this entire time. Like, I'm not doing anything fancy at all. I'm just being very unscientific because it just kind of goes down this way. And I should get the name of that bagel place for people who are interested in that in Montreal. Because it's like $1 for like 10 bagels, and you'll never want to eat another bagel again. I've threatened to fly up to Montreal, because now it's only a 3-hour flight for me, to do so just to get those bagels. And, it's an excuse to go to Canada, which is great. I remember one time when we were in Canada, and I was like buying like a Tom Clancy novel for the ride home or something. This is when I was younger. It's like, it did the entire transaction in French, even though the book was clearly in English. It's one of those, I'm like, merci. Having no idea what numbers it just lost. I heard a sonk in there somewhere, so I'm pretty sure that's a 5. But like I said, my French skills, I can order food, and I can use the metro system. I'm untouchable on the metro system in pretty much any country I've encountered. My understanding is if you can beat New York City's metro system, there's no metro system that can threaten you. And like I said, even within France, when we're in Paris, we'll do Paris someday too. And that's super fun too, because they have the regional RER, and then you have the regular metro, and then you have the ground stuff. And it's chaos. It's awesome. I got somebody a little over. Is he with us? Or is he kind of... Yeah, no, he's with us. Okay, Wired. Yeah, sure. That's easy. I'll do that. I'll probably put that together when I got a minute. I've already put together, I have some super cool videos coming out next week. We have a top 5 aircraft that I like in Flight Sim that are regular, and I have a top 10 payware aircraft. So anybody who's looking forward to, kind of what are my opinions on things, again, what's the value of my opinion? Anybody's really. It's just the things that I enjoy flying, and that took a little bit of time, but I had some extra time this week because of the way things were working out during the summer. So I was able to put that together. But doing something in the Autoland, that's easy, Wired. I'll put that together. Like I said, that's not bad at all. Uh-oh, getting a little away from the river here. Gotta make sure I don't lose sight of it. Yeah, there's the river. We're good. We can't get lost as long as the river's there. Oh, another cool thing with the airplane I was flying yesterday in the real world is it has a GTN 750. It actually has one of these. And one thing I will say in the real world is it runs a lot faster. And the other thing I'll say in the real world is it's just smooth. Like really, really, really smooth. Also, the buttons on here, when you click on things, they go like that kind of a thing. And it's like, oh, cool. And it comes through the headphones and everything like that. So in case, I'm just checking to make sure I'm not lost here. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Quebec's right there. So we're doing good. We're doing good. This is cool because I got the plane so well trimmed. I haven't actually touched the yoke in a while. I've just been using my feet the whole time. Which I know you're not supposed to do, except when you do. Yeah, get a little tiny bit low there. I might have to touch something. All right. Let's see, Canadian Toe Jam. What? Hey, it's whatever's good. There's also Candid Puppy. I'm thinking that's a Canadian puppy? I don't know. I'm kind of get that. I love how fast this thing is. We usually don't fly this, but this is pleasant. I don't mind this thing in the air. It's going to be quite the pain in the butt to get down on the ground, but it's not too bad, not too bad. Oh yeah, and another thing I found out about flying the high-performance aircraft is when you let the nose come down, the plane picks up speed. It's breathtaking. Like, I could drop it like this, and I'd pick up 20 miles an hour. And that's with a little plane. With this guy, I push down, I would expect to see the thing hit 400 when I do it. The other thing that's amazing with the high-performance planes with the constant speed is when you go to approach, there's no shenanigans. You just set the power of what you need it to be, and it just goes. There's none of the speed up, slow down, bump, bump, speed up, slow down. It's just not like that. It just stays steady the whole way down to the ground. It's really, really, it's incredible. It's incredible. I think we're actually on the wrong side of the river here. Let's kind of make my way to the left here. Another thing I've gotten from flying in the real world is the fact that my feet and my hands are now wired to each other. When I go to move one, I have to move the other at the same time. It's weird. Whereas if you fly helicopters, they almost have to act independent but together. I'm gonna come swing up the river here. Yeah, probably turned a little too far, but that's okay. That is Donnacona. Donnacona, sweet. Surprised nobody brought the P-38 along today. One of those I was thinking about getting, but I never actually did. I'm gonna pull up a little bit here. I could use a little tiny bit of altitude. Wow. What is it, 6,000-7,000 feet per minute? Oh, look at this. It's that special Canadian water. I don't know if I find that entertaining. That comes swinging this way a little bit. And I believe we need to be on the north side of the river. There we go. That should be right off at 12 o'clock. So coming into Quebec, basically, you're cruising along, nothing but trees, 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 like on and on and on and on. Every once in a while, you get, that cool little wind sign that I showed you a little bit earlier. And you're just cruising, and all of a sudden it's just like going into Montreal, where you get just a few trees, and then you get all of a sudden a bunch of houses. And all of a sudden there's a second highway. I think this is the major highway going in, if I recall correctly. Well, I'm just trying to look at it. It's been a few years since I've been down there. But I believe, yeah, this is the major highway. But like all of a sudden you just start seeing neighborhoods, and then you see another neighborhood, and then you look out this window, and all of a sudden you see a suburb, and it's like you click a switch. It's incredible. There's also a railroad that takes you in as well for those of you who are inclined for rail travel, which is kind of neat. All right, now the city itself, this is pretty wild. Probably check my combustibles here. I haven't done it in a while. Oh, let's see here. Right side, plenty. Left side, looks good. Sweet. Always make sure you give yourself a couple taps of up trim before you look at the floor. Yeah, so for people interested, coming into Quebec, like I said, it's a very, very historical city. You've got a lot of really, really cool, I almost call them like castles. There's fortifications up there. There's like a whole old city section, which looks like it was like a piece of some trading town that basically came out of like 15, 16, 1700s, kind of a thing like that. You've also got kind of the modern section, kind of toward the south, and the architecture is amazing. You've got the river for those of you who like to take river cruises, and like you can even pop up to like almost the ocean from here if you want to do like whale watching or something like that. It really is impressive. And I'm looking off my 12 o'clock here, and I'm seeing some flashing lights over there in the distance. Probably a good sign that we're getting relatively close here. But for those of you who are, like I said, more naturalists, you've got amazing places to walk up here. And keep in mind, during the summer, it doesn't get as hot, which is really, really, really nice. Of course, I said that and, ended up being like that 100-degree week. I think it was like the only heat wave that Canada had had many, many years at that point, too. So it's like, of course, we coming from the south trying to avoid the heat, we brought it right with us, which is, it happens. Got to swing here. See how everybody else is doing real fast. Like I said, I'm making pretty good distance here. Toro's got the right idea. An F-18 is going to be a very, very relaxed flight, although he's probably going to use 50 times more fuel than I'm going to. Let's see here. I'm going to kind of wander down just a little bit. I'm trying to remember how this goes. Oh, there it is right there. So those giant triangles there, all the architecture looks... Oh, let's take my fun away. All the architecture looks like that, but not really. Just going to start cruising that way. The airport we're going to be landing at a little later on. You can't miss it. It's going to be coming up in just a second. Yeah, there it is right there. We have the Codifier. We have Candid Puppy 198. They're chilling right there. They're probably not with us, but that's going to be the airport that we're going to be landing at in a little while. The wind for me is coming out of the west, so that's going to be landing opposite direction as this. So it's probably going to be a Sierra straight-in approach. Speaking of straight-in approaches, we had landed at an airport. It's a Goodspeed Airport House. There's a little tiny airport right to the south of it. It's so cute because you have to fly through trees in order to land, which, not very safe. But when we went to take off, there's a seaplane base right next to us. So, I called in departure to the north, got in the air. Our traffic, which shows up because we all have ADS-B in the U.S., it's a little thing that basically says, traffic, traffic. And I look at it, and it says the distance to the traffic was 0, and then it became 100 feet. Then it was 0 again, and it was bright red. And I'm like, oh, it must be detecting us. Looked out my left window like this, and about 50 feet off my left wing was a float plane. And the guy immediately said, are you going to brake right? And it was like one of those, it's like, oh, God. So that we didn't smack into each other. So my north departure ended up being an east departure, which was unfortunate, but that is probably physically the closest I've ever come. The scary part is the person in the float plane never said a word. They basically just took off, and when they saw us, they said, brake right. So it was one of those where it was like, oh, good thing I'm a little bit more powerful than you. Wired virtually, what are some flight plans that have nice scenery that you like? Wired, I'd say one of my favorite flight plans of all is, let's see here, probably Eagle County Regional to, I'm trying to remember what the name of that other airport is. It's going to take me a second to think about it. It's like I said, if I could stop flying for a second, I'll look it up to you. There's an airport called Eagle County Regional, and to the east or the west of it, I completely forget which one of it, is this canyon. And it's an amazing canyon. It's ridiculously tight. And if you have a little plane, you go, like it's almost like, flying through like some Star Wars trench run kind of thing. It is like one of my absolute favorite flights to do. All right. The Codifier. Yeah, I saw you over there. Yep, you're right over there. Awesome. All right, welcome to Quebec. So the city itself, you got yourself a really, really lovely little star fort. And then you have the kind of historical section right here, which is this lovely... Apparently it's taken a little bit of battle damage since the last time I visited. You've got these beautiful buildings and these really, really expensive hotels. And you have this whole historical section, which basically occupies this. My fun story from there, other than getting absolutely an amazing dinner, I forget what restaurant it was. It was like up here on the corner. It's a little touristy too, but it's absolutely awesome. Is the fact that we parked our car inside like an office building that offered, I think it was like right where I'm looking actually, offered basically, you could do parking for like, it's like, 10 Canadian a day or something like that. It's like, sweet. So we parked it, we got out of the car, and it closed the garage door. And I'm like, oh my God, we're never going to get our car back. It's going to be trapped in Quebec forever, kind of a thing like that. So, we went around and took a look at all sorts of things, and did the whole tourist experience. We came back, and then there was somebody standing by the door with the gate open. I'm like, oh, last thing in the world I needed to do is to figure out a way to get back to a car on a weekend in an office building in a place that I don't speak the language. So that was a way, way, way more fun than it needed to be. But this whole section here is incredible. There's so many places to see. You could basically walk the whole thing. You've got kind of this little thing right here, like almost like your little boardwalk. Beautiful, beautiful buildings, like I say. Really, really old historical kind of stuff. You've also got, of course, the river is literally right here. Look at the grain storage. So like anything you like to do water-wise, you can kind of come down here and see all these sort of things. Oh, swing over to the right here. Cool. Give it a couple RPM. I think we're getting a little slow here. I can kind of feel it. It's a little heavy. Yeah, it's a little bit too much. I'm going to concentrate on flying. There we go. But they get some incredibly large ships up here, and if you like to kind of boat watch, you can kind of come down here in the harbor. The water here, by the way, it was also quite turbulent when we came, and one of the neat things is you pop up to the top of this little hill here, and they have like the little view, whatever you want to call them, not viewmasters, but the little kind of binoculars for a quarter kind of a thing, and you can just sit up here and kind of look down over it. But it's all really, really cool historical stuff if that's something that you're interested in. Like I said, I always like coming down here because it's good food and, like I said, plenty of stuff to do. Alrighty here. Let's put this thing on the ground. Going up. That ought to do it. Okay. Whew. And now I'm at 3,000 feet. So our runway is right over there on the right. I'm going to be taking the long one. And if you want to join us for a picture, I will see everybody at the terminal. You can't really... I got a mouse. What am I saying? I'm going to be right there. So for those of you who like to join us for that picture, feel free to pop down at that spot. I will see you when we get there. So landing this plane, I'm not going to lie. There's a good probability I'm not going to do a nice job. I'm going to do the best I can, but I don't consider myself to be perfect. And like I said, I'm used to the one in DCS, which has has a sort of looseness to it that you don't get in this version. It also has a tail wheel lock, which is awesome. But one of the things I can recommend for anybody who is operating this plane, who hasn't flown it in a while, just trim your plane for 120, and it's much easier to make these approaches. Like, you'll see what I mean. And when you come over the ground, it's just like any high-performance plane. You can pull the throttle back and just kind of coast it in. The difference being, if this were a real P-51 and pull the throttle back, the plane would just stop flying and stick to the ground. It's just not going to do that in a flight sim, which that's kind of annoying. Like I said, DCS does a little bit better of a job on that one. Oh, hey, Codifier. Oh, he's got an easy job. He's just got to come down soft. All right, here's a trick I learned from high performance. When the RPM starts to drop on its own, which it hasn't started to do so, actually, I gotta lift the nose up a little bit. See how it's starting to drop on its own? Then you push the RPM handle forward. Don't just jam the RPM forward, otherwise you're gonna get whacked into the seat like a cannon. Ugh. Gear down. All right. Give myself a click of flaps. We are tenaciously high here. That's going to give me plenty of time to give myself some nose up, though. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just do my classic little helicopter landing trick here. So I'm doing 120 miles an hour or so. So I'm just going to give myself all sorts of lovely trim up here. And all I'm doing is trying to trim it so I don't have to touch anything. So there's my 120. Trim, trim, trim. If I actually let go, I'm not touching the controls right now. This is the trim state you want to be in. You don't want to be doing anything too crazy. Like I say, I'm not touching anything. I'm completely just trimmed now. So now I'm going to start to line myself up. Simon, you've got a much easier job than we do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly bring the power in, again, keeping that same level of trim. Your power is now your up and down lever. Again, it takes nothing to get this thing going. There we go. You just want to look at your descent rate. Yes, I can't see out the window either. There's the ground. So all you're going to do is formation fly with the ground. There's the ground effect. I look down the runway and transition. That's it. Oh, that was a lot less embarrassing than the one earlier. I don't have the brakes, by the way, because if you do, you'll die. You'll do a really, really, really lovely faceplant, and it'll be much more embarrassing than my landing earlier today. Oh, delightful. We're here. All right, what did I say? I said we're gonna go park over there. All right, this is where I'm parking. Whoa, brakes. Oh, no, no, no. Told you, told you, told you. Nice. Oh, man. Oh, my back. That was a fun one. Oh, everybody else is over there. I guess we should go join them. All right, I'm going to back myself up just a teeny tiny bit. That looks pretty good. So in the real world, when you're using third-person view, it's critical that you set the brakes before switching to third person. Otherwise, you're going to eat it. It's kind of fun. Base. Oh, cool. There's a pole. Wired virtually. That was actually more of a. It was more powered. I didn't really reduce the power on that thing to 0 until I was about 6 inches off the ground. So yeah, I mean, technically it's a dead stick, but at the same token is there was a lot of power involved making it so that I could safely get that thing all the way down on the ground. If I had just run it in, that would have been much more dangerous because unfortunately, I just would have run out of energy. All right, cool. All right, let's wait until everybody gets over here. We got Monkey Chicken and an RK9. I don't know what an RK9 is. Let's see, we got a P38 coming in. Looks a little bit more like a CRJ than a P38, but I'll take it. And I think Toros are coming up here. We got Zenith coming down, Codifiers coming down, and we'll do this. All right, so we got a little bit of time now. If anybody's interested in sending Q&A or any suggestions for any videos or anything along those lines, this would be a great time to throw those out there. Oh, I just saw a really nice bounce there. Go ahead and activate that. Boop, boop. Much better. Cool. Oh, so Toro, don't worry about that. Press Y, and then use your numpad, because then you can point yourself anywhere at any time. So I can go like this, I can go over here, I can turn myself around, I can back myself up. So just go ahead and use that to rearrange yourself. If you press 1 and 3 on the numpad, you can go ahead and point yourself in every direction in existence, kind of a thing like that. So it just makes it vastly simpler. Again, it's called Slew for those of you who've not played with it before. It's pretty darn cool. All right, I'm going to steal a couple pictures real quick here, just in case we miss it for whatever reason. You never know. Yeah, try the Slew command. It's the greatest thing ever. And it's also a little addictive, so kind of be mindful about it. You can do really hilarious things with it, where you can slew yourself upside down and then bounce off the ground, then slew yourself 100 feet in the air and then come back down again. Like you could do this, which is tremendously dangerous. Watch this. Oh, landing. Woohoo! And then when you're done, you can just kind of lower yourself and do one of these things. Oh, this is probably a bad idea. Whoop, maybe it wasn't the best time to press the slew button. Oh boy, now I'm completely stalled. See, this is what happens when you try to demonstrate things without thinking things through. It's okay, I have a plan to get out of this. Don't worry, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. Alright. Alrighty then. No, that's not the button I wanted. Let's see here, which one is this? Is this the one I want? Okay, now I'm on the roof. Alright, let's go sneak back over here. I'm coming back, don't worry. I fixed it. Ta-da! So like I said, that is your absolute best friend if you're looking for doing quick little pictures like that. Alright, I'll go ahead and sneak that picture in, and then we'll go ahead and do a little bit of damage. Uh-oh! We got a P38 coming in here. Can't miss the P38. I love that plane. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Isn't that fun? You gotta be careful, though. It's really addictive. And, yeah, there you go, Toro. You got it. You got it. Like I said, once you get the hang of it, like, you're going to use it for everything. I just yell the word ground handling whenever I do that, because I just consider a bunch of people who just, like, a bunch of gremlins that get out on the plane and point it wherever they need to go. Zoom in just a teeny tiny bit. Grab the picture for today. All right. Delightful. Well done. Well done. Yes, Austin, that's exactly the purpose of that. Yeah, the Y key. I do that all the time. All right. So, as always, I have to destroy my lovely plane. So, let's go destroy my lovely plane. And if anybody has any Q&A or questions or conspiracies or anything along those lines, this would be a great time for it. Of course, I haven't done anything to prepare this plane for takeoff. I'm just giving it full power and hoping that I can clear those trees. Chew! See? No problem. So what real pilots don't tell you is that's the standard method to get out of anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go, uh-oh. Whoa, don't worry. No problem. We got a thing for that. There we go. Come on. There we go. Delightful. All right, let's go run into the St. Lawrence here, and then we'll call it a day. If anybody has any questions, suggestions, comments, this would be a great time to do so. Just a couple RPM here. Line ourselves up. feel bad. The water's looks really it's gonna be cold water no matter what we do here. I know, isn't that fun? Yeah, if you haven't played with that, by the way, I'm not telling you should get used to it, but like when it comes to just you're in a simulator, take advantage of the fact you're in a simulator. Like you might as well. All right, let's do a nice belly landing here, and we'll call it a morning. Oh boy, here we go. I love how quiet the plane gets. Here's a trick I learned. Propeller handle all the way back. Now it's a glider. I've always wondered if you could water ski from the back of an airplane. I imagine you could do it with a Piper Cub. There we go. Okay, let's see here. Unlatch the doors. We're supposed to take a shirt or something, or like our jacket, and we're supposed to put it in front of the yoke. Let's see, that's unhinged. I'm unhinged. That looks pretty good. We're supposed to hit the water nose up attitude so that the plane doesn't flip, although we have retracted gears, so if we are going to flip, it's going to happen pretty suddenly. And basically we do this until the plane finally decides it's done flying. Come on. Come on. This is good practice if you're trying to work on your touch and goes. All right, I'm doing it. Come on, stick it in the water. Come on. Wow, this is the longest I think I've ever hovered over the water here. Of course, what I could do is I could pull out a ground effect a little bit, lose all my energy. That'll do it. Now we can come back down. There it is. You would think I would hit the water by now. This is crazy. Yeah, oh, there it is. Fantastic. All right, folks, have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful day and afternoon. We'll see you in a couple weeks, and I'll be sure to have plenty of fun little stories to kind of go along the way. But other than that, enjoy.